Drive a right-winger crazy. Help build a home of progressives by becoming a TYT member. Click the link in the description box below.
Yesterday's string of attempted bombings, attempted assassinations, attempted acts of domestic terror, however you want to refer to it, and I think all three of those are accurate, continued through to today with more targets being sent, pipe bombs and various forms of apparently explosive materials. And so we want to add to your knowledge of who is being targeted. There were 3 more devices found in Delaware and New York this morning. 2 were addressed to former Vice President Joe Biden, Delaware resident, and a 3rd to actor Robert De Niro, who lives and works in Lower Manhattan. I assumed he was an LA guy. All of the 10 packages that have been discovered so far bore return addresses from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democratic Congresswoman from Florida. There had been a belief a little bit later on this morning that the building that Nancy Pelosi's office in was also had a suspicious package. I haven't seen any updates confirming that, so I'm assuming at this point that it did not.
Yeah, there've been a lot more than that of suspicious packages because obviously people are on alert, and then many of those have turned out to be false alarms.
Now, these ones appear to be sort of consistent with the others that have been sent over the past 48 hours. A law enforcement official said the envelope and printed address labels on the package sent to Mr. De Niro were similar to those on explosives sent to former President Barack Obama, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and others. And we talked yesterday on the show about Eric Holder had been a target of one, Maxine Waters was the target of multiples going up until last night. So if you pay attention to politics and you understand what's been going on, what's been said, who the villains have been laid out to be, this string of people is a very interesting and unique list, especially with Robert De Niro being included in it. I mean, we remember that at an awards ceremony, I forget exactly which one, he yelled F Trump, I believe it was.
I think it was at the Tonys.
I was thinking Tonys, I think so.
Yeah, so let's bring up this map. You're gonna see the list there, but we have a pretty long list there. Some of them obviously well-known figures, some who only briefly popped up on the radar of having to do with Trump, like Robert De Niro. Maxine Waters, best known for being talked about constantly at Trump rallies as a low IQ individual, an accusation having nothing to do with her intelligence and everything to do likely with her race. And then of course, George Soros.
And let's not kid ourselves, and gender.
And it's a gender thing as well. George Soros, by the way, who was the first target of these bombings a day or two before the others. What's interesting is that ads attacking him as being sort of like the puppet master behind political goings on in the Democratic Party have run since that bombing, actually. So the concern that possibly led to these bombs being mailed, that these people are demonized outside of their actual influence in politics, has apparently led to no moderation whatsoever in that messaging going forward, because George Soros continues to be attacked.
And Donald Trump continues today, as we'll get to.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of that,
in the media. Yeah.
Exactly. So a couple of updates on the bombs themselves. Earlier, the AP reported that law enforcement officials said the bombs sent up until that point, at the very least, were packed with shards of glass. And I read a little bit later on today, NBC New York was reporting that some of the bombs apparently had flaws in their manufacture, making it so that they were incapable of exploding. The flaws apparently they were different between the individual bombs. Some were small, some were larger.
And we don't know whether the flaws were intentional, so the bombs were designed not to explode. That might have been true of all of them, or if the flaws were there because they were sent by the kind of person who spells Florida Florids.
Yeah. They misspelled Brennan and John. Brennan was the one that was sent.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz wrong. They got the return address.
Right. So it's hard to really read exactly the reasons why, or if the defective nature was on purpose. So honestly, it doesn't matter. Because yesterday I was saying to, I was like, it seems like these things weren't set to go off. They were more sent to be intimidation factors, or I know where you are factors, types of that, which is still terrorism. So I mean, now it's somewhere in the middle as far as there was effort put involved. You could stick like some kind of cylindrical shape in something with something on the end with a couple wires if you just want to scare someone.
Yeah.
But there was things that are included in bombs. You need something to shards of glass, BBs, things like that that actually hurt people. So there was some intention there.
Yeah, the FBI is calling them bombs.
Yeah, they're bombs. Yeah. And although there are still no apparent hard leads as to who might have done this, nobody's claimed credit or anything like that. At various points today, I've seen people are reporting that Florida is considered to be the origin point of at least some of the bombs, and so they are searching there.
Which would make sense, given that they sort of the strange focus on Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah, and so look, we're gonna get in a second into the blame that's being laid by those on the right, but it is interesting. I mean, Robert De Niro, Maxine Waters, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who she was the head of the DNC, but she hasn't exactly been all over the news for the past year and a half plus. Like, these are some slightly esoteric figures to day-to-day politics, unless you're paying attention to certain streams of political communication.
Yeah, I don't want to read anything into it because, I mean, De Niro qualifies because he's famous, and that got a lot of coverage, the F Trump line, right? So the Debbie Wasserman Schultz thing would suggest that it was somebody in Florida. That's why they would know her, right?
Okay.
I mean, only unless you were, significantly following the Democratic race would you think you would be out. But again, she ran, she was Hillary's head of something. Well, but all that was weird because she was totally impartial, though.
Obviously.
Yeah, right. And if you think about the irony of what's going on here also, well, this is America, obviously, right? Still. And we have this fear of terrorism, terrorists, our borders being porous, people coming in, doing this, doing that to us. But we continue to ignore how it's homegrown here. I mean, we were concerned about gun massacres, gun violence, mass shootings, all that stuff, because it's homegrown Americans have so many more guns than anywhere else in the world per capita that it kind of matches up. But now we're going with bombs more. And this many, now we're at 10 now, have been sent around the country. And there's not much of a recognition that whoever sent this around is most likely American. It's not because the caravan is coming from Central America.
I was just gonna say, it could have been one of those ISIS guys in the caravan, like who went ahead on a scouting mission, right? Yeah, he ran ahead, he got into the U.S.
And if nothing else, what have we learned from all the terrorist attacks that we've been talking about consistently in recent history, recent political history since like 2001 with one of the biggest ones ever, right? So what we've learned is to do it ourselves. And we're not like, the secondary thing after you say, how do we stop this, is who have we become? And maybe it's who we've always been. It's just we decided to go this route finally.
I will just say, I understand not wanting to, I guess at who it might be or move ahead of the evidence and all that. But I will say that the people who are like tweeting at me, until we have hard evidence, we can't guess anything. Well, I'm not sure that that's exactly true. Like, if all of the targets are Democrats, it's not equally likely that it's someone on the left or someone on the right. It's not impossible it's someone on the left, certainly. That is within the realm of possibility. But it's not like if all of like we were just talking about baseball, if everyone on the Dodgers was targeted for assassination, it's not equally likely that it's someone that hates and loves the Dodgers. It's probably leaning in one direction, probably. That's all I'll say. Okay, why don't we turn to the blame being laid? I try to tie it into sports to bring him in.
I love it when John talks baseball. It's really great.
I have been to a Dodgers game this year, so I can talk about baseball.
It's a great baseball reference, John. Well done.
It's a team. It's the local team, right? Yay, a local team.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.